Boo! Hello, it's me. The person you haven't heard from since what? What was it? March 7th? Well, March 15th was the last time I posted, but March 7th was the last time I gave you guys a chapter, and that was like almost 3 weeks ago. Guys, I am so sorry. First of all, soccer season's just started, and I have practices practically every day except for Wednesdays and the weekends. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, soccer practice from 5 to 7:30. 5:30 to 7. And each time I get home, and it's dinner and bed and boom. No time. The time I have before that is on the bus. And then I get home, it's 4:30, and then I have to do homework. I'm also currently trying to get my life together mentally. I'm okay, guys, I promise, but yeah, I know it's been such a long time. Mastermind Rise of Anarchy, written by Clouds. My head in the clouds, not coming down. Read by MHA. Chapter 44. Decay. Summary. Tartarus continues. Kaina Tsutsumi ran through the maze-like halls of Tartarus, shooting any guards that tried to stop her. She wasn't sure who exactly was behind the breakout, but she wasn't about to let an opportunity like this pass her by. She turned at the corner and skidded to a stop when she saw a large purple cloud blocking her path. A man, who appeared to be half made of mist, stepped out, and Kina raised her rifle in preparation. The man blinked when he saw her, but made no move to attack. And now the mist had cleared, she could see that he was wearing a Tartarus uniform, same as hers. "Hello there," the man said amicably. "My name is Kurogiri. Would you perhaps like a ride?" Kaina hesitantly lowered her arm. "Where are we going?" "A safe place away from all these heroes," Kurogiri answered. "I have already cleared most of the lower levels of this prison, and rescued a good amount of our allies, if you'd like to join us." Kaina fully lowered her rifle and nodded. Kurogiri created a portal right in front of her and gestured for her to enter. "And forgive my rudeness for not asking earlier, but is there a name I can call you?" Kaina stepped through the portal. Most people call me Lady Nagant. Izuku relished in the terror of the heroes' faces as he walked out onto the bridge. Eggshot immediately flattened himself and tried to reach him, but to Izuku's surprise, Tokoyami's dark shadow stopped him in his tracks. He hadn't been planning on any of the hero students switching sides, but he wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. Izuku strode until he was standing beside Tokoyami and smiled. "Most people think that's the way to stop Eggshot is to prevent him flattening, but I think it would be much more effective to make sure he doesn't have room to revert himself back to his normal shape, don't you?" Tokoyami's eyes widened as he nodded in understanding. "Heroes have a habit of stretching themselves too thin." "Here," Shoto offered. "I'll help you out." Shoto created a wall of ice on one side of the hero, while Dark Shadow stretched itself out on the other. Eggshot flattened himself paper thin, as Dark Shadow slammed itself against the ice wall and trapped him inside. "Leave him like that for a few minutes," Izuku instructed. "He can only comfortably hold his flattening for a few seconds anyways. That's why he always reverts so quickly. This should force him into quirk exhaustion. So between that and the cold, it should be easy to pray." He squeezed Tokoyami's shoulder encouragingly and turned to Shoto. "Are you ready to have some fun?" Shoto smiled and coated his hand with a layer of fire. "I never did get to play much as a child. Gotta make up for lost time." Izuku grabbed knives in each hand and raced forward to join the fight, each hero's weakness running through his mind like a familiar song as he fought. After a few minutes, Shoto called out to him, "Izu, you got company." Izuku looked towards the other end of the bridge to see Nezu staring him down, Iravati and Froppy trailing behind him. At the head of the second wave of heroes, Izuku straightened and gave them a little wave. Hello, Nezu. Welcome to the real game board. Pixie Bob tensed as she got ready to move, as she glanced between Shigaraki and All for One. Shigaraki was tense as he glared at All for One. Did you just say that I have a connection to the Star-Spangled Bastard? No! He struggled harder against the dust prison that Pixie Bob had built, and she took advantage of the fact that All for One's attention was on him, running over to Ragdoll. She was barely conscious when Pixie Bob dropped to the ground at her side, injured and exhausted. It was all Ragdoll could do to shove a syringe of cork serum into Pixie Bob's hand. It's a little crack. Ragdoll's voice was weak, but it's still there. Take him down. Her hand dropped as she lost the energy to hold it up, and Pixie Bob turned around. Tiger was bleeding out, and he could barely see Mandalay's foot somewhere in the rubble. They'd come so far and sacrificed so much just to kill one man, and they hadn't even been able to get close. Pixie Bob glanced towards All for One, whose attention was still on Shigaraki. You're angry, All for One said calmly, a smile wide, chilling her to the bone. Good. Use your anger to fuel you. Shigaraki was practically trembling in rage. Why did it have to be him? Why did it have to be All Might? You know what? He's lucky Mastermind already killed him, 'cause I swear I would. He trailed off the string of curses and deceptions of torture that Pixie Bob frankly didn't have the stomach for, but it was good enough to keep All for One's attention off of her. She forced herself to her feet, wiping a bit of blood from the corner of her mouth. This was the best chance she'd ever get. She made sure her teammates hadn't suffered for nothing. She stumbled forward quietly, the sounds of her advance covered by Shigaraki's growling tantrum. She quickly picked up speed, and finally came behind All for One. She was only a few feet away. She was almost there. Suddenly, Shigaraki stopped his tantrum dead in its tracks. His eyes widened as he stared straight at her. Sensei! Behind you! Fumikage was surrounded by pure chaos on every side. Mastermind was free, and the agents of darkness, that he now called his allies, were making their way out of captivity, even as they fought. They had left Eggshot in his own makeshift prison, just as Mastermind had been instructed, but with his classmates advancing, he was running out of time. It was surprising that only Uraraka and Asui had shown up, but perhaps the others did not have the courage to face those that had betrayed them. He waited a few seconds before recowling Dark Shadow to him. Eggshot immediately contrasted to his normal form and fell to the ground, on his knees panting for breath, as Fumikage moved to stand over him. Dark Shadow. Fumikage gripped the feathers of his sword that Hawks had given him and pointed it to the downed hero. Eviscerate. Eggshot didn't have the energy to avoid Dark Shadow's claw or Fumikage's sword, and they cut through him. Fumikage stepped forward, ignoring the blood as he and Dark Shadow made their way forward. He glanced towards Uraraka and Asui, who looked shocked to see him kill a hero. Good. Let his old friend bask in his new darkness. Instead of charging towards him, however, Uraraka pointedly looked away. Asui gave him the sad look, then did the same. All of their classmates, he had expected Uraraka to try to take him down, but why wasn't she? Could she perhaps have an inner darkness of her own that she must grapple with? His second thought was perhaps she would head straight for Mastermind, as she did have a personal reason to hate him in particular. But she didn't try to attack him either. Instead, the two of them turned to take on some small fry villain who had joined the fight, completely ignored everyone else. Fumikage had expected to take their attention. What had happened to him? Tomura felt his quirk itch beneath the skin, but all he could do was watch Sensei whirl around to meet Pixie Bob. He raised a hand to blow her away, but in that split second it took him to prepare his air cannon attack, Pixie Bob stabbed something into his hand. He sighed as he knocked her through a wall. "You're such a nuisance." He took a step back and started to stride forward to free Tomura, but stopped after 2 steps. Where are they?" Tomura frowned. He couldn't concentrate very hard on what Sensei meant. The itch of his quirk was becoming unbearable, and he just needed to get out of this stupid death prison, because he needed to help Sensei. Sensei stalked forward and picked up Ragdoll off the floor, holding her by the throat. "What did she just hit me with?" Ragdoll gave a wet laugh. "Quirk canceling serum. How does it feel to be quirkless?" Sensei dropped her in shock, and the itch under Tomura's skin exploded as he realized the implications of what Ragdoll had just said. Sensei couldn't feel his quirks. He needed to get out of there and save him. Now! Tomura screamed as he felt the ground beneath his feet and his shoes disintegrate. The decay didn't stop, though. He couldn't stop it. As it spread onto the floor, it touched Ragdoll, then Sensei, and it just kept going. He watched in horror as everything in sight around him decayed. When Decay finally reached Pixie Bob, the dust prison he was caught loosened and he fell to the floor of the prison, disintegrating beneath him until he hit water. Izuku heard screaming behind him and whirled around to see the entire building collapsing into dust. Tomura's quirk must have gone haywire in a way he hadn't predicted and was destroying everything in his path. To block it and make sure they were all safe, they needed something that couldn't turn to dust. "Everybody!" Izuku screamed. "Get in the water!"